Good evening, everybody. This is Bonnie Hunter at Quiltville in the basement, where my phone is ringing like wild, and I couldn't even tell by the button on the screen if it went live or not. So I believe we are. I see the green line going back and forth, and it says live in the little button on the upper right-hand corner of my screen. The laptop's a little bit away from where I'm sewing, so this is how I sew. If I were sitting proper, I'd be way too far away from my machine. So I tend to sew with my face right down where I'm at. And when I'm trying to see what's going on with the computer, my face is right there too, so that I can read the stinking buttons that are on there. These old eyes, as they get older, things are a little bit less clear. Have you noticed that with yourself lately? For me particularly, any colored area with white letters on a colored background, oh, it's awful. I can't read it. This includes menu boards in restaurants where you go in and they've got a black background and menu items are in white and the light is shining through them. That's a bad thing. I'm starting to feel like the little old lady who says, pardon me, what is line 4 up there? Because I can't see what it says. And then the young guys, you know, they're 16, 18, they roll their eyes at you like you're just some little old lady. Just wait, it'll come. So this is Quilt-Cam, and it's been over a month since we've been able to do this, and I'm really excited that you're here tonight. If this is your first time for live Quilt-Cam, and if you've caught us in the archives before, I want to welcome you especially. If you want to send me any photos, you need to email those to me. That's the best way to get photos to me. The email address is quiltville@gmail.com. There are some other places you can leave comments, and they'll show up in my email inbox, which will show up on my phone as we're sitting here. So if you're on YouTube, you can send a comment to where our YouTube feed is embedded with Google Hangouts, and that'll show up in my email. If you are on the blog, you can always leave your comment in the comment section, or there's a blue guest book button. If you're not a registered user, there's a blue guest book button in the left-hand column, but you need to be viewing that on your computer or your laptop, not your mobile device, because the mobile devices won't show you the entire page. They give you the mobile view, so you'll be missing those side columns that really have some important information for you. But again, the easiest way to get to me is by emailing me at quiltville@gmail.com, especially if you have photos. What do we have going on here tonight? Remember these blocks? These are the H blocks I started as a cabin project, just working myself through a small box of random scraps. And the H's really don't take a whole lot of fabric. A couple of background squares, 3 pieces for the H itself, 4 triangles that surrounds it, and then 4 of these blocks go together and the whole thing gets trimmed up. And then it sat, and it sat, and it sat, and it's already too hot. Sorry, this got to go. What I've got here, this is yesterday's project, and if you're watching on the blog, you've already seen these photos, but I've been stumped for a layout on what I wanted to do with these, and they're so cute. They got waylaid as we got ramped up for our mystery, and I needed to get our mystery quilt sample made and the directions written, and H blocks came off the wall, completely off the design wall, when we started doing a basement remodel at the cabin, putting up pine planking on the walls. But this is what I've come up with so far. How cute is this? I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled for the opportunity to put in some more scraps. I think putting 4 sides of one color around each of these blocks is going to let the blocks be able to do their own little dance without being too busy. You can still see them. It kind of calms it down, but it still keeps some fun going on. And I even delayed my leaving the cabin yesterday because I was so excited about these. Now, can you tell? Let's see, that this one and this one tilt in opposite directions. So if you cut your triangles mirror image, you'll have some that go uphill and some that go downhill, and that's going to be a lot of fun. This is something that I am planning for a future publication, so while I can't give you sizes tonight, I can encourage you to just experiment, and that's how I came up with the sizes of triangles that I needed. I started with a strip. I thought maybe this wide or this long, and then I sliced it on the diagonal, and nope, it was too short, or nope, it was too long, or no, it's too tall with too much of a slant. And you just have to allow yourself the opportunity to play. And you can do it with paper if you're not sure. Start with paper and lay your pieces out and see if that works before you go to fabric. As for me, I just dug right into the scraps. I figure anything that I cut wrong, if it's this narrow, it can just go in the string bin, and that'll be just fine for me. Okay, guys, the heater in this room is on, and I am absolutely roasting. So 2 seconds, I'm pushing that heater button off. 2 seconds, be right back. Yes, I'd like to blame it on the heater, but we all know it's this certain age that we are. So what I've got here tonight is a Singer 201. This is my Singer 201. I had to look up the date on when I got her. I have to confess, I have an affinity for colorful machines, and I love really odd brand names and off-the-wall body styles. And this poor little baby, she looks pretty normal, although she's got a very gorgeous faceplate on her. The 201 series was probably the best machine ever made by Singer. And if you look it up on the web, you'll find several places that say hands down, 201. 201 was the absolute best. What makes this one so smooth is it's got very, very close tooling connections. I don't know the proper term for it, but it is engineered to be such a tight running machine and such a strong machine that it sews through everything just like butter. Hands down, probably the Cadillac of all Singer machines. This one, if I turn the camera just a little bit, you can see it has a potted motor here on the back, so it doesn't have a belt. The gears go right to the hand wheel, and the gears, that's what we call direct drive or a potted motor. That also makes it very, very strong. There's no belt slippage, so there's nothing that can lag when the needle hits the fabric. The gears are going to drive that needle through instead of the belt and the motor just. If you've ever sewn over something where maybe you've got a thick spot or you're putting binding on a quilt, so you've got backing and batting and top layer with seams and then a double layer of binding with its own seams, and you're trying to get through that, and the machine logs down and just goes and doesn't want to stitch through all of that, you don't have a problem with this one. This one has been used hard. I adopted it from the grandson. Actually, it was the granddaughter-in-law that was selling the machine. It was her husband's grandmother's machine. And I found it on Craigslist, and I went and checked it out. And I can tell that she's been used a lot. The clear coat is kind of foggy on the top. The decals are still good, but I don't think there's anything that I can do for that foggy clear coat. It's just not that pretty, but boy, is this a wonderful looking machine. It does have a little lever to turn the light on, and I've got this just a little extra light for old eyes here. And you can see I've got my little seam guide I have stuck down to here. I did some test seaming today to make sure I had a 1/4 inch seam. This is absolutely going nuts on here, but I want to do some sewing first. So what I'm going to do here, turn my iron on. Yes, another heat source. I went through and cut long, tall triangles of many different fabrics. Now I am matching these up just block by block. Whatever I think will go fun around these blocks is what I'm going to put on. So there is no special color family or any style or whatever I'm trying to do. The first thing I do is go to my pre-cut strip drawers and see if there's anything that I need. Now I need about a 26-inch length to be able to cut these out, 25, 26 inches to get the pieces that I need. So it has to be a fairly long strip. And I start at the bottom of my stash. I go to the strip drawers first. If there's nothing there, I'll go check the scraps that haven't been tamed down yet. Do I have something that I can get those 2 rectangles out of? If I can't find something there, then I'm going to the fat quarters, and I'm pulling fat quarters that I haven't cut into yet so that I can get some new blood into my scraps. This is a piece of pearl bracelet. I got this at Mary Jo's on my trip up in January, my trip back home from teaching in South Carolina, and it was just a small remnant, but I was able to get the pieces that I need for this. And then the leftover from that piece, I'm going to just cut a strip of and stick it in the strip drawers. The first thing I'm going to do when doing wonky triangles is sew the side pieces. So I've got one facing this way on this side, and I'm going to put another one facing this way on this side. And you'll notice that there's quite a lot of dog ear there. Don't worry about that. That needs to be there because we need some floating space and we need some room to trim down to the size we want these blocks to be when they're done. So don't worry about the tail. Don't fear the tail. I start in the corner. If you want to try this technique, I do have a free pattern on the blog, the Happy Scrappy Houses pattern under the free patterns tab at the top of the blog. Also has these wonky triangles, although in a different size, going around the house block because the house block is a different size. But it's the same technique. When you do this, you're going to take your rectangle, whatever size you want, and you're going to slice it on the diagonal from corner to corner. Long, tall triangles. You need 4 long, tall triangles, and they need to be all the same. So you're going to have 2 rectangles that are both facing the same direction, meaning both right sides up or both right sides down. Don't put them right sides together or you'll end up with 2 mirror image pairs and those won't go around your square. So these are 2 rectangles, both right sides up. Slice it from corner to corner. And then we're going to add these pieces around here. I like to do my sides first, and the side that is the straight grain goes against the straight grain of the block, not the diagonal side. The diagonal side, even though it's a little bit biasy, goes to the outside of the block. And let's do this. You mean she's going to shut up and we're actually going to sew? Yes. Okay. I've never done topsy-turvy triangles before. Okay, so why do we have, there we go. Once your triangle is laid down here, and I can tell where that dog ear is going to end, I can snip off this much triangle so that my piece is even with the end of the block, and then I can sew. And I think I was doing some paper piecing earlier. That stitch is a little bit small, so I'm going to go a little bigger. That's better. Doesn't she sound sweet? And because I like to tag team things, I'm going to grab the next block and start it also. So I usually have 2 blocks going. One is the leader ender for the other, unless I'm specifically working on a leader ender project, but my tumblers are up at the cabin. All right, so I can snip that tail off right where the block ends. And then you just leave the front one, or the last one, under the needle and bring this one forward. Now, I don't need to touch the iron to this yet because I'm going to sew on the opposite side, and I want this to be as fast as possible. So I usually sew 2 sides, then press them both gently because there is biasy edges out here. And then I'll do the top and bottom and then press those both and then set it aside. It will kind of have wonky edges, but we'll deal with those after Quilt-Cam is over. But this goes very quickly. The thing I like about this, depending on the size of rectangle that you choose, the height, the length, how steep that diagonal is, it'll give your block more or less spin, and you can even float the block. So if you have blocks that are slightly off from each other, like blocks from a block swap, you can all trim them down. You can trim them all down to the same size and nobody will know. All righty, so we're going to add this one here. And trim that tail. I did turn the iron on, so we're ready for that. Let me show you what this looks like. So here's our first 2 sides, and you can see that block is going to spin just like that. Isn't that going to be fun? I love how these pearl bracelets just show up a little bit here, a little bit there. when I'm pressing just the seam area. The block's already been pressed and the triangles aren't wrinkled, so I don't need to scrub it with the iron because that'll really distort that quite a bit more. But then we'll be ready to add our next two sides. But to placate the poor buzzing phone that's been going nuts over here, let's see who's checking in tonight. It's always fun to see what you've been working on, what finishes you've had. We have a brand new release that's just coming out in Quiltmaker magazine called Razzle Dazzle. And there is a giveaway on the blog for that happening right now. It went live this morning, the giveaway did, but we're not drawing until Sunday, so you still have time to get into that. Oh, and here's one from Kevin the Quilter who says, thank goodness for Quilt-Cam tonight. Spending a nice, quiet, rainy night in my new home, the Quilt Cave. Awesome. I love that. I am right here with you working on sorting scraps for this delicious H block because Kevin's an H guy too. That is so cool. Thanks again and again for always being willing to share your artistic genius with us. You don't know how much I personally appreciate it. Thank you for letting me know. It's fun to have friends who like to sew along. I'm excited about your new place. I can't wait to see photos. If you don't want to share photos with the rest of the world, you can always just send them to me so I can keep them private to myself. But I'd like to see how you're getting that studio set up and what machine you're sewing on. So happy to have you with us, Kevin. This one's from Pat up in Alaska. She says, hand sewing a binding on a Quilt of Valor quilt tonight. I hope to be able to sew on my machine on the weekend. It will be 2 weeks after my knee surgery. So she's been getting a little bit cranky because she hasn't been able to sit at her sewing machine because of knee surgery. So Pat, maybe we need to get you a hand crank machine so that you can do that. But 2 weeks down, and I'm hoping that you'll have full range of mobility with that knee sooner than later because spring's a-coming. She says, I have plenty of projects to work on, and it's fun to see you tonight. It's always fun to talk to Pat. We had some fun times, not only in Italy together, but then I turned around on that trip from Italy and was home for, what, 3 days? And then went to Alaska, and she was in my workshops there too. So we get together as often as we can. Here's one from Rini who says, I know how much you love to make string quilts, so I thought I would share my latest string quilt with you. It's a Drunkard's Path variation, and I just love how it turned out. Rini, there is no attachment, so send me the attachment. I'm looking down. There's nothing attached to this, so we'll be waiting for your photo. It's a Drunkard's Path string quilt. I gotta see it. Email me back, dear. Margaret says, great to see you live for the first time in months, isn't it? It's great. So happy to be here. I absolutely loved how light it stayed tonight. Did you notice that? At least down here in North Carolina. Those in Australia, it's probably getting darker earlier where you are. But it was almost 7 o'clock, and I was just sewing along, and I've got a quilt in the long arm busy, and I'm doing this and doing that, and I looked at the clock, and it was 10 minutes to 7, and I hadn't had dinner. I love this time of the year. I am a daylight girl. I don't do well in the winter when it's dark early, so I absolutely love this. She says, tonight I'm sewing a sleeve on an art piece that's being shipped next week to Stratford, Ontario, where it will be part of an exhibit opening at the Stratford Perth Museum in May. Love to watch you as I stitch. Thanks for all you do. So happy sleeve stitching. Send a photo, Margaret. I'd love to see what you're working on. This one says Antique Mall Flipogram. It's, yep, Lucy in Alabama. Yeah, the Flipogram is only a Flipogram, and it is supposed to happen really quickly. So if you're on Facebook with me, you may have noticed my antique shopping yesterday. I didn't have time to write about it, but that's slated for tomorrow morning's blog post, and you'll have still photos to look at. But Flipogram is a teaser because those photos flip by really fast, and you have to look really close to see what it is, and it doesn't slow down, and I know it drives you crazy. But because we had the giveaway post this morning for the magazine, those antique mall photos will be posted tomorrow morning's blog. Okay, she says the Flipogram went too fast. Is there any chance you might post them on your blog sometime soon? Yes, tomorrow we will. Thanks, Lucy. Kathy Crowfoot says, it's all your fault and I love you anyway. Do I want to read this? That's kind of a nice subject line there. Kathy. She says, I have to thank you for my obsession with half square triangles and multi-fabric quilts. I was honored to be asked to send a quilt to the Des Moines Quilts of Valor conference in May to be awarded during the conference and/or show. Given how much I love making half square triangles, and she's not saying this tongue in cheek either, she loves half square triangles. I found this design on the web and said, yeah, that's the one. Then I borrowed a friend's AccuQuilt Go and the 3.5 and 6.5 inch triangle dies and started cutting up a big basket of fabric that was given to me. Isn't that just more fun? I was telling a friend who just got an AccuQuilt Go last week. It's more fun than the Play-Doh Fun Factory. If you remember cranking stuff through the Play-Doh Fun Factory and having stuff come out in shapes out the other end, this is the grown-up quilter's version. It is wonderful. She says, needing more variety, I dug into my own stash and went to town. Now I have enough half square triangles to make at least 3 quilts. Oops. I love it. So she's got her photo. Oh my goodness, isn't that fun? She's got her photo right here. Let's see if I can biggie size for you. I love this. That is really great. So there's her photo. All kinds of scrappy colors. She's just separating by light and dark. And even the little 4 half square triangle unit, it's all scrappy also. It just looks like, is it a common background? It looks like it's one background. So that's a good way to add some unity and some space for those scraps to shine. Beautiful job. I love that. Let's see what else she said at the end. She says, thank you for inspiring me to reach into the fabric pile and use all the different pieces to make a beautiful creation to wrap our veterans and service members. I also want to personally thank you for making a quilt for the Quilts of Valor auction in May. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Yes. My pieces are all cut up. And if you missed what I'm going to be making, it was on yesterday's blog post. I'm going to be making, I was contacted by Marianne Fons, and she did the list of the celebrity people that she wanted to participate in this celebrity quilt auction. In other words, it's not an award, we're bait. We're bait because our name's on it. We hope people spend a lot of money, so we're bait because it's all for a good cause. So I'm going to make 4 Winston Ways blocks. I got all of my 4 patches yesterday at the cabin, strip pieced. No, this was the night before, not last night, night before. I did all the strip piecing at the treadle machine. And speaking of AccuQuilts, I put my strip sets right sides together. So I had red on white and white on red, and they're already nested. And then I subcut with the AccuQuilt. And there's photos in yesterday's blog post to show you how I did that. Then I didn't sew anymore. They're in pairs and they're already matched, and then they're in a baggie. And then the other baggie are all of the half square triangles that I need to do the other parts of the block. And this whole thing, the 2 bags of 2 different parts are in another bag, because you know that as quilters we have more saved Ziploc bags than we should. Then we could probably supply a third world country with Ziploc bags if they let us into our bag drawer. But those are ready to go. And I just heard from my contact in Wichita that she will have a featherweight waiting for me at my hotel when the shuttle drops me off from the airport when I arrive there. So I also will have my project with me when I'm in Naperville, although I may have to sneak down and use one of the classroom machines to sew at it, since the Naperville Cocoon has machines provided. But there will be some sewing time. So yes, I love half square triangles. I love scraps. I'm excited about the Quilt of Valor auction. And if you want to play along, you can make your own quilt also that you get to keep yourself, or you can donate it to your own Quilts of Valor organization, or you can make it bigger and donate it to a veteran. Mine will only be 30 inches square and auctioned off for a good cause. Okay. That was a lot. Irene says, Quilt-Cam. Hi, Irene. She says, sorry to say I'm cleaning instead of sewing because my folks are coming into town for the grand opening of my long arm studio. It's coming along. You have to hear this. This story is so good. Irene, I'm going to tell on you. So Irene, she moved from Texas to Louisville. And she's had in mind that she wanted to open up a little business away from the house. First of all, they're in a rental, which and rentals are small, and it's really hard. There's no room for the long arm. We've did this before. When we moved from Idaho to Texas, I rented a building off the courthouse square because there was no room for the long arm in our small rental. And she found the perfect building. Not only did she find the perfect building, it's upstairs above the quilt shop. And the quilt shop does not have their own long arm. They do not have a long arm service. And Irene is going to be right there above the quilt shop for people to come and drop off their quilts. Now, if you are a quilter and you drop off your quilt to be quilted at the long arm person that's above the quilt shop, how many of you are not going to go into this quilt shop and shop? You're going to go in the quilt shop, aren't you? You're gonna go in just because you have to. You must obey. You have to obey and see what new fabric is there and pet the fabric and see the books and talk to the shop owners and do all that stuff. So this quilt shop underneath is in for some increased traffic because Irene has opened her business above the quilt shop. Not only that, if you are a quilter and you're going into the quilt shop and you notice that there's a new long arm studio upstairs, aren't you going to take a visit and see what kind of quilting happens up there? And you can drop your quilt off while you come do some shopping. I think it's going to be a good win-win for everybody. So she's got her grand opening coming up. And she says, it's coming along. I finally have a phone number and I'm excited to see it all come together. My folks and Dave's folks will be here and I'm trying to get it all together. I can't wait for you to see it. Sew some strips for me. So this is her sign. Holy cow, girlfriend. That phone number is huge. You can't miss it. So if you're in Louisville, Kentucky or near Louisville, Kentucky, and you need someone to help you get caught up on those UFO tops and those wedding gift tops and those high school graduation tops and everything else going on, you can find Irene. This is your shameless plug, girlfriend. I'll only do it for you once. And I'm reading backwards. 502-822-1214. That's Cotton to Quilts in Louisville. All right. Excited for her. That is wonderful. And of course, you're going to go to the quilt shop. It's one-stop shopping. You drop one quilt off. What's the first thing that you're going to do? Go buy more fabric for the next quilt, or maybe you need some backing for that quilt top. So you'll go to the quilt shop, buy your backing, and there you go. All righty. Debbie says, oops, I forgot to say who I am. Debbie Hanks, quilting in New Hampshire. I've been making baby quilts for 2 of my friends, lots of scraps. So welcome, Debbie. Glad to have you with us tonight. Margaret sent a photo of her art quilt. She says, here's the photo you requested. It's entitled, It's Still About the Sky. And it's a view of the Alberta sky based on a photo taken driving east on a highway I travel regularly. It's 27 inches wide by 24 inches long. My exhibit is My Corner of the World, Canada, which, with a companion exhibit, My Corner of the World, international artists will be touring over the next 3 years, starting in Ontario. She says, though I mainly make art quilts, I love your work and enjoy doing strip piecing and your mysteries as a way to keep my piecing skills sharp. Awesome. Oh, wow. This is a quilt. This looks like a photograph. So there's her view. Driving down the road, look at the sky. Isn't that just beautiful? This is her quilt. It's going to be hanging in the exhibit and traveling for 3 years. That does not look very unlike my view when I drive to the cabin right before I get to where you can finally see the mountains on the horizon. That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing it. All right, phone's going down for a minute. Bonnie wants to sew. So we've sewn the 2 sides, right? And there you can tell they're slanty. Fat side up here, other one bottom has the fat side down there. If you end up with fat sides at the top, both at the top and 2 skinnies at the bottom, that means that you cut them right sides together instead of having both of them facing up or both of them upside down. Have your fabric strips the same direction. Ask me how many pairs of triangles I ruined because I forgot and cut them right sides together. Okay, so this one, because we're keeping the straight grain on the edge of the block, is going to go here. And you can see on this side that it's going to do a little weird thing. It's going to come up the side, it's going to jut out a little bit to the corner. That's okay. We'll square that off when it's time. So let's put this one on. I'm going to line that up there. I don't even know how many of these to make. I'm just leaning half of them one way, half of them the other way. I'll go through the blocks that I've got, and then I'll see if I need to make some more. All right. Okay, same with this one. The fat side will always go up against the skinny point. If you have something like this, that's not going to work. That means one of your triangles is upside down. You see how I've got two fat ends over here on my left, your right, and then it goes to nothing in this corner. Got to make sure that you keep the straight grain up against the block, and a fat side will always go up against a skinny end on the previous side. So fat to skinny, all the way around. When I get down to the end of this tail, the tail is going to end up skinnier than my seam allowance, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to sew right off. I'm keeping my seam allowance at 1/4 inch, and it will get to the point where there is no more triangle. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so you can see that my seam right here goes off of that skinny tip, but it continues 1/4 inch all the way to the end so that I can continue chain piecing. Don't worry about this being shorter than this. There's plenty of room to trim to size. What's nice about doing this is that you get to decide what size you want to trim your block. So I go ahead and do this, and then I just see what the common size is. Some get trimmed a little less, some get trimmed a little more, but I have a common size to trim them to. That way, if there was any inconsistency in my blocks, I can make up for it. Fat side to skinny point. And then we're going to sew right off. Okay, and then this one. I really like doing just 2 in a chain. More and more and more and more. 2 blocks in a chain is sufficient to have my progress going. So you can see this corner here. Here's the straight edge, and then it goes off to the side. Don't worry, because that we're gonna trim that off when we square it up. This way has the least amount of waste of any of the twist and turn type block that I've seen. Most of them have you start with big rectangles, and you sew rectangles all the way around, and then you skew the ruler, and then you trim off, and there's this incredible amount of waste. This way, there's almost no waste at all. We just square up a little bit. That long, skinny little tail, we're going to sew right off of it. There we go. Okay. If you're sewing on 2 opposite sides, you really don't need to press until the second side is done. So here we are, and you can tell it's kind of swoopy in all 4 corners. But I will be able to square this to my desired measurement, and those swoopies will be gone. So we're just going to start this pile. But isn't that pearl bracelet cute? I love it. Okay. It was really fun just going through the strip bins and deciding what color was going to go on which block. This one I chose turquoise because there is no turquoise already in the block. I want contrast, so I'm looking for either a color that's not represented in the 4 background triangle fabrics, or something that is at least dark or light enough that it contrasts with those. Whoops, dropped a triangle. We'll start this one. So straight side in the corner. And these long ones I can kind of trim. You can wait until after you're done sewing off to trim, but I just kind of trim to the end of the block. And this one's done. One side press and then the other. So here we go. 4 more swoopies there. It's going to be really cute. We'll get another one. Now this one, I'm going to use these green triangles, and there is green in this one, but the green is not in, it's these background triangles colors that I'm worried about. So even though there's a green H, I can still put a green border on it. It's really fun to sew from the bottom of the stash. Except I'm missing my button this over here. Okay. Yeah, I should have trimmed that one. I didn't. We'll get these next 2 sides on really quickly, and then I'll grab some more. Other exciting news around Quiltville. I got my first PDF copy of my book in progress. This is what we call in the flow stage. It doesn't have the pretty added yet, but I did get to see the photographs that they took of the quilts, and they look fabulous. I'm so excited, and I am happy to say that, you know, I was dreading this, having to work on this during my Easter break, but there was very, very few corrections of anything that needed to be done. And I'm so very happy. I was cursing it at the beginning because there's so much work that the author has to do, but because the author's doing it, it turns out better. Because we know what we're trying to put down in words. So there was less editing because of all the work being done. Okay, need to trim that a little. So again, the working title so far is Addicted to Scraps, and the release date is set for September. I'm very excited about that. Really like this green batik too. All right, 2 sides pressed. So far, so fun! So fun! It's gonna be great. So let's see who's checking in. Here's Margaret's thing again. That was so pretty. We have we have so many coming in. Oh my goodness sakes. So all the way down to the beginning, I'm going right here. Kim Andrews, how are you, girlfriend? It's good to hear from you. She says, just seeing this now. Busy skiing out in Wyoming. So how are things in Wyoming? I'm so glad you're getting some spring skiing in. I know how much you love that. She says, we have my handwork with me, working on patchwork of the crosses blocks on block number 7. When we get home, I will be packing for the Jane Stickley retreat in Indiana. Can't wait for that, and probably will bring Aliatare to work on while helping dear granddaughter with denim quilt from your book. She will be attending her first retreat in Indiana. Can't wait. So this is the retreat in Shipshewana that happens with something like, is it 75 quilters or closer to 100 quilters that gather in this Amish community, and they sew up a storm for days and days and days and days. I'd hate to be the housekeeping staff who has to clean up all of the threads, but I would love to be one of the retreaters. That sounds like so much fun. So Kim, please tell everybody a big hello for me. Don't break a leg skiing in Wyoming. They need you in Indiana. I'm looking forward to pictures of that one. This one says, String Drunkard's Path picture. Oops, remember she sent the whole big long explanation, but oh my word, is this wonderful. You, girl, have got it going on. She's separated out her neutrals from her colors, and so she has the dark half and the light half, all Drunkard's Path blocks. So my question for you here on this quilt is, how did you deal with all the seams? Did you press all of your seams open so that it was easier to sew that curve? I'm sure other readers want to know also. That is just phenomenal. Beautiful job. And I love that. I love that love ring layout. Anything in a barn raising that goes out from the center, that just speaks to me. I love this. What a fun collection of scraps. I see everything in there. So tell us how you did it. I want to know how you dealt with the thickness of your seams, just because I'm curious that way. That's beautiful. All right. Leslie Hasseman says, Quilt-Cam. Leslie from Durham, Connecticut. Hubby's away on business tonight. So is mine. So that means I get to watch Quilt-Cam live. Sending a picture of my Grand Illusion that I just picked up from the Long Armor. My first mystery and first bed-size quilt. It took me a year to complete, but I'm very happy with the outcome. I'm looking forward to working on Aleatari this summer. For a first-time big bed-size quilt, honey, that is absolutely gorgeous. Whoops, I just clicked my ringtone button. Isn't that pretty? Yep, so that's Grand Illusion, was our mystery 2 years ago, and I'll be teaching it up at the Grand Hotel Needle Art Seminar coming up in May, just over a month away, and I'm really excited. Several of the gals who've already done the quilt are taking other classes with me, not this one. So the ones that are in this class are people who haven't done it before, but they've promised to bring their quilts so that we can have a big showing of all of the Grand Illusion quilts off of the front porch at the Grand Hotel. Wouldn't that be cool? I'm really, really excited. Sure wish you could join us. My hubby is away on business he's up in New York. And this is what happens. He travels for business, I travel for business. And it hasn't happened very often, but the last couple of times it has, where he gets home after I leave. And I get back home after he leaves again. And we're like ships passing in the night. So we were really happy to have Easter time up at the cabin together over the last week. Here we go from Connie Hendricks in Wairika, California. Thanks for having Quilt-Cam tonight. Hope you see the picture. Love the quilt pattern. She says hers is all scrappy, so she's got part of her Aleatari blocks there, right there with us on Quilt-Cam, and she's putting the blocks together. She started the assembly of her on-point rows. Beautiful. I really love seeing your finishes. This was the most fun quilt to work with, and if you saw the pictures of the Leaning Tower of Pisa and how the blocks are all the way around the tower. There's quilt blocks all the way around the tower and around the bottom and on the other buildings that are there in that historic area of Pisa. It all has the same block, repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated. And I just knew that we had to do something really similar in the quilt. Home ec with Mel. Mel and Paul say, missed the last two Quilt-Cam, so happy to catch you live. Sent what we are both working on. Hubby is working on the melon patch blocks from Elle's Kitchen on a Singer 28 hand crank. I'm working on an 8-pointed star. So here's the hand crank. Oh, how sweet. Somebody's even put decals on the bed. So he's working on the hand crank there. This is what Pat Kilmaine needs. She needs a hand crank while her knee's recuperating. I love that. And then this is the 8-pointed star that she's working on putting together in some really bright colors there. Very pretty. I love it that hubbies and wives can stitch together and have things to talk about and enjoy hitting the fabric shops with each other, and it's wonderful. Angie says, Quilt-Cam with 3 exclamation points. So I must check her email. So happy to see Quilt-Cam live. Here is a pic of my recent finish, my Flock of Feathered Stars quilt, completely sewn on my hand crank machine. So we're definitely hand cranky tonight. Please say hi to my fellow quilters from Evergreen Quilt Guild in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Thanks for all you do for us. This is from Angie in Appleton. And so here's her quilt. Oh, Angie, that is just stunning. So she's got all of these different feathered stars put together in a medallion setting, but I want you to check those border pennants. Those are like the large star points, the feathered star points in a border. It's just too yummy. That's really neat. Neat, neat, neat. And then she shares also a picture of her hand crank. Maybe if I turn it this way, sometimes I can get it big ear sized. So there's her little hand crank singer right there. Isn't it fun? I've been trying to tell myself, instead of an electric machine, I need to just, I can put my hand crank in the same table. So I still have a flat surface and I can hand crank. But it's so slow. It's so slow. In fact, one of the things that I passed up on yesterday was they had a beautiful hand crank. The brand name on it was Leader, Leader, but it was a badged national, and I could tell because I just know what national bodies are, and national usually has a little swinging medallion here on the pillar so that you can swing that out of the way. It's quite pretty, but it swings out of the way and you can oil inside there. And it takes really, really odd sized needles. And I'm just to the point where, yes, pretty machine, but you need to be functional. Which means if you're going to join my herd, you're going to have easy to find parts that aren't going to cost me $1 million. And finding those needles that are like $4 to $6 a piece, I'm just not going to sew on that. So it doesn't need to be taking up space here. But photos of that on tomorrow morning's blog. Alrighty. Adding these. I always give things kind of a gentle finger press to get the seam going the way it needs to go before I press. So even though there's green in this H, this green out here doesn't interfere with it. What I wanted to avoid was using one of the same colors that were already in the backgrounds of these H's. So black would attach itself to this one and it would disappear. Pink would attach it to itself here. Green is just a good contrast all the way around. Okay, skinny to fat. This needs to go this way. Dealing with that long skinny tail. What I love about setting blocks this way is that it just really does cover up a multitude of sins. I tried trimming all of my blocks to the same size. And it's difficult when you're sewing on different machines. Of course, I try to always test my seam allowance, but sometimes you're just tired and it's just not quite there and everything. But having the ability to do this and then square them all down to a common size is going to be nice. I like this blue on here. Another benefit of a setting like this, there's all these seams on the back of the blocks. And if I join these block to block to block, then there's more intersections that are coming together, and then those seams have to find a way to go. But because these triangles are all pressed out towards the edge of the block, it gives a place for those seams to land, so everything's going to lay really nice and flat. All right, back to skinny, straight grain. And yes, I talk to myself all the time. Okay. Gentle press. Whoops. See how fast this is going to be? This is going to be really neat. And when they are squared up, let me hold up one of these again. Is this the same? Yeah. So this is what it looks like. This is the same slant. This is what it'll finish at. So you can see how much I'm trimming up here to here. I put this one on top. Can I do that? I'll show you that way. There you go. It's just forgiving enough to be able to do it this way. Okay. Let's look inside here, see what we got going on. Trying to think of other things that I can tell you. Oh, yes. All is right with my world now. I've got a new van. We traded in Shamu on a Moby. so Moby is ocean blue and is in my driveway, but it just didn't feel quite right. Something was just not right with Moby. And till Laura Valdez said, do you want another sticker for your back window? Because remember, I had the got quilting on my back window so that you knew that was my van. If you saw it in the parking lot, you'd know, oh, that's Bonnie's van, as if the Quiltville license tag didn't give it away. She sent me the got quilting sticker. So I went out this morning with my bottle of Windex and my rag, and I made sure the window was all nice and clean, and then I stuck that got quilting sticker on the window and peeled it back and left the letters all in order and in place, and it was straight, and I was so happy. So now all is right with my world because I got my Get Quilting sticker back. Thank you so much. This one is from Sandy D'Angelo, who says, tonight I'm working on the borders, oh yay, for my Roll Cotton Bowl. It would have been my first of many mysteries, but the rest got ahead of it. Life happens. Now it is mine. I love it. This year, my Aliatare got a second place at the Charlotte Quilt Show. I love that too. Thank you so much for all latest quilts. Cannot wait until you are back at Quilt Odyssey. So here's from Sandy, and oh, she's got, I'm gonna biggie size. She did blues and burgundies and yellows and creams, and this is her Roll Cotton Bowl. Isn't that lovely? So pretty. So if you missed Roll Cotton Bowl, you'll find that in my book String Fling. That was when we were still able to put retired mysteries in books. Now it takes me 2 years to do a book, so it's not worth making somebody wait 2.5 years for this to eventually get in a book. So we do those as digital now, but this one turned out absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Sandy. We were looking on my calendar for Quilt Odyssey, and I think it's next year. I think not this July, but July of 2017. Somebody said they saw it on my calendar, and I said, oh, really? I don't remember. It's too far in the distance, but we will get back to Quilt Odyssey, so I hope to see you there in Hershey again. Celine says, hi from Arizona. I've been working on small baby charity quilts with our church sewing group. They'll go to Mexico, where some of the moms take their new babies home wrapped in newspaper. So sad. Glad to see Quilt-Cam live. Thanks for your time, Celine. I think that is a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. And I've heard about that even here in America. on some of the Native American reservations that sometimes the young mamas end up taking their babies home wrapped in nothing but a bath towel. So if you have an opportunity and want to play with something sweet and cute and bright and fun and quick, I know there are organizations that will do that. And there is nothing better than a feel-good quick project, 30 to 40 inches square, you know, for a baby. That's wonderful. Thank you, Celine, for all that you and your ladies are doing. Please give them my best. Jody Moriarty says, my 201 in a 42 cabinet. Hello from Indianapolis. So she's got her, oh, yay, you've got that cabinet. I got that cabinet. Yay, this is the one that doesn't look like it has a left leg. I spy all kinds of other machines underneath there too. This is where she's working on her 201 there in that really fun Art Deco cabinet. But I want you to look at what's underneath the extension bed side of that table. Somebody has a machine problem. We just can't say no. I love it. I love the plus quilt too. That looks really great. Let's see what else she has to say. Oh, Jody, she says, I have 3 of these cabinets, which makes my cousin Susan wildly envious. As you can see, a few of my featherweights and class 15 machines are stashed under the cabinet. So she is fessing up. I'm not using my 201 tonight. I'm actually upstairs working on a blue plus quilt on my white featherweight. So that's Jody from Indianapolis. Okay, and this one from Tony Creekberg says, joining you on Quilt-Cam, working on finish a table out of recycled fabric. So much fun. So she's, oh, these are really, really fun. Okay. And I'm looking at, it says County Faces. Is that the name of the pattern? I can't tell, the one that's on your table, but she's got these here. And they look like little recycled blocks, fun, darks and lights. They're almost sewn like fans. Really, really cute fun. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I just love all those recycled fabrics, but I see some music notes and some other fun stuff stuck in there. That's great. There really is not enough time to sew all that we want to sew. Cassandra Grog says, Quilt-Cam. So glad to see Quilt-Cam live. I live in the Cincinnati area. Wish I could have seen you while you were here. Oh, I wish so too. We had an absolute blast, and the weather was really not too bad while I was there either. And I'm so happy to say that we left March behind and we're now headed to April. So hopefully things are really lovely there now. She said, just finished this top. It's based on Tula Pink's Lolly, and I call it Fruit Loops. Next is an I Spy quilt for my granddad, who will turn, or granddad who will turn 10 in May. He chose the look. Okay, so I'm having a hard time reading typos here. I'm doing the best I can. I know you're on your iPad, and I think we are all going to develop incredible mad typo skills, and we'll be able to read it. But this is what she's got going on right now. Very, very fun with the strips there, where the strips go from one block into another block. Really great. And the other one is race car fabric. And I think this is what she meant that she was using for her grandson, who's turning 10, not her granddad, grandson. Beautiful. Wonderful. Glad to have you here. Jackie Tucker says, Quilt-Cam project. And there is no attachment, Jackie. Jackie, it won't open up. So you'll have to try sending that photo again, hon. She says, my new granddaughter Olivia's quilt, Green Fling Spring. Oh, wait a minute. It just opened. It just opened. It must be my Wi-Fi down here. She said she arrived March 17th, so I'm not too far behind. Adding the last 2 rows, and we'll sew rows together if I have time. Happy Wednesday to all who are watching. So I'm going to biggie size this here. And she's put string blocks in the center of her main piece block, and then she's used snowball blocks as the connectors. Really, really cute. I love that pink and green together. Really sweet. Congratulations, Grandma. That's wonderful. Okay. Oh, wait, one more. I saw something important. Sometimes I miss these. If you wanted a shout out to somebody in particular, sometimes I miss them. I try to hit all that I can, but believe me, the emails come in faster than I can reply to them. So this one is a shout out to my sister-in-law, Wendy, from Donna Barnes in the San Francisco Bay Area. She says, my sister-in-law, Wendy, and I share a love of fabric and crafts. Unfortunately, we live on opposite coasts, so we try to join you for a virtual quilt retreat during Quilt-Cam time. Wendy retired this week, and I am so happy for her. Now she has more time for the things that make her the happiest, her family and her many creative outlets. Thanks for another great Quilt-Cam. And that's from Donna, who's hoping that sister-in-law Wendy is still listening. So happy retirement, Wendy. We're all stinky green jealous. Baby boy quilt from Debbie. I've been making baby quilts for 2 of my friends, lots of scraps. So she's the one who forgot the picture. Oh, it's adorable. It's an alternating 9-patch, traditional 9-patch alternating with a all neutrals 9-patch. So you get that single Irish chain look, but very, very patchy on the background neutrals. I love it. Great job. Great job, girlfriend. Okay, where am I? This one's done. That one's done. You gotta love the funky fabric. Do you see this? Are they right side up? Maybe they go this way. No, they go this way. It's couches and chairs. Do you see this? Do you remember yesterday morning's blog post? What did I post about? The crazy dream that I had. So I had this crazy dream that I'm riding this clunky antique bicycle, and I am riding, and in my mind, you know the scene in The Wizard of Oz where the old mean lady is riding the bicycle before she's the witch, but she's the and she's riding the clunky bicycle. Okay, imagine Bonnie trying to ride this bicycle through road construction, all of these orange pylons and potholes and everything to get to a workshop that she was already late for. Don't even ask me how the books and the class supplies and everything else got there ahead of me. But I'm riding this clunky bicycle, and it is absolutely vivid in my mind. I mean, I can smell the asphalt still. And I get to the workshop, and everybody's busy. And they have some pieces sewn to pieces, and they're doing all of this fancy applique on top of some of these patchwork pieces that are all sewn together. And they're quite busy, and they pay me no attention. Doesn't notice that I'm late. They're just too busy doing what they're doing. So I go across the room to set my stuff down, and I turn around, and no sooner have I turned around. This is where this fabric comes in. And no, I just cut this tonight. So this fabric doesn't have anything to do with this dream, but it's really insanely crazy. So I turn around to address the students, and everybody is on pull-out sofa beds taking naps in sleeping bags on top of these pull-out sofa beds. And I woke up laughing so hard because they're all, it's like, okay, it's kindergarten nap time, but it's all sofa beds with the mattresses rolled out, and they're just snoring away. So when I woke up, the first thing I laughed to myself, and I tried to make some sense out of this, and I thought, where was this workshop? Was it in the furniture barn? Where was this workshop? So when I was cutting this fabric tonight, before Quilt-Cam started for this blog, this is a really fun fabric I used as the backing for another quilt. And okay, it was incredibly on sale because it is really quite silly fabric, because it's sofa beds and chairs and sofas and recliners and loungers and things like that. And it makes me think of that ridiculous dream. But the one thing that stands constant, whether I'm awake or whether I'm sleeping, no matter if I'm dreaming or whether I'm doing whatever, there's quilting in it. There is just, I just live on one track. That's it. I just live on one track. So we're gonna find this one. Whoops, this triangle belongs to that guy. I just thought that this kind of gold sofa furniture fabric, sofa, contrast enough. Even though it's dark gold against this more green here, it's enough contrast, and it's visible. So I'm going to sew it there. And wow, this is the other slant. These are the ones that were right sides together with the other ones. So these are going to go this way. So I am actually going to lay this on here, and I'm going to snip off that tail before I get started because it's just too long to want to start with that in the way. Sofa beds. I think that all quilt workshops should come with sofa beds included, don't you? Sure. Or retreats. Maybe I was thinking retreat, like a sleepover retreat. No, it was applique and then sleeping and sleeping bag. Really weird. All right, so here's the green batik one. That's going to trim up really nice. And then this one, got these wild pink, and what you can't tell what's on here, but the purple was turtles, and there was only a small piece of it, but I was able to use most of it for this quilt. Sometimes you just have to allow yourself to dig into some of the newer fabrics or the ones that have been sitting languishing for a long time. But I did go to the strip stash first to see what I could clear out. Okay, fat to skinny. So this one goes here. And I will trim off that tail first, just because it's too much in the way. Now, every time I see this block, I'm going to think of that crazy dream. So as far as our next Quilt-Cam goes, I'm going to be in Illinois up to the weekend, and then I fly to, I think on Friday, I fly to Wichita of the next Friday. So I leave Sunday, and then I leave the next Friday for Wichita, and after that I'm home for a few days, so we can probably plan on our next Quilt-Cam, I would say around the 15th. It's another one of those 10-day trips. Okay, sofas, your sofa funny. Yes. I'm going to see, every time I see this fabric, I'm going to think about, where did my other triangles go? Okay, here they are. And this one, I can get it lined up at the one end, but I'm going to put a pin where this tail is really kind of long, just to get me started. Did you see that? I pinned something. Take note, it doesn't happen very often. Okay. I want you to know I am trying my hardest not to sing with the radio. I put it on a little peppy channel. And it's one of those songs that has a hoo 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 in it. I don't know if you can hear it. It's just something that keeps my mood up while I sew. Now, if you wanted to try this block, but you don't have an H in your name, this H is just basically built like a 9 patch. So if you put a 4 9 patches on point, you could do pretty much the same thing and it just wouldn't look like an H. But the construction would be the same. So think about it. Think about what you can do with your scraps, even if H doesn't appeal to you, because this is a fun one to do. All right, skinny to fat, skinny to fat. All right, one more, just one more. I feel like I'm getting so much done tonight. I usually don't get this much accomplished. I hope you are feeling the same way. Okay, skinny to fat. One more. Just pinning that little skinny tail into submission so it'll not wiggle around until the sewing machine needle hits it. Okay. And there we go. Yeah, I'm going to think of that dream every time I see these crazy sofa chairs. Ready for trimming. Sofa fun. Yeah, I slayed myself. Okay. One more round of emails. Very top of the list here. Quilt-Cam, hello from New Zealand, and this is from Annie. She says, hello from New Zealand, watching you live today, but you're in my yesterday, so I'm watching yesterday live. She's cracking herself up too. Shout out to all the quilters in your Quiltville group. So this is from Annie to everybody who's on the Quiltville's Open Studio. Annie in New Zealand says hi. If you're not a member of Quiltville's Open Studio and you are on Facebook, you need to give us a like. Just type in Quiltville in the search bar at the top of the upper left of your Facebook page. And different Quiltville options will come up for you. And yeah, there are even some bogus Quiltville groups out there. You know, when spammers find a group with a lot of members, they will start their own group with the same name, hoping to entice people to join their page for whatever reason. So be sure that the pages you are looking at are the right Quiltville pages. And both header photos on my Quiltville pages are of classes that we gave in Michigan a couple weeks ago. And you will find my Quiltville Friends as my business page. That's where I post and people can comment. But if you join the Quiltville's Open Studio group, that's a live 24/7, 365 quilt party all the time. And that's where you can share your photos and the group can see your photos and everybody can comment on everybody's photos. And it's a really big time suck, but it's a lot of fun. And I'm in there quite a bit as well, commenting on people's projects. You can share whatever quilt you're working on. It doesn't have to be one of mine. We just would love to have you join and have some fun with us. So that's from Annie in New Zealand. Wishing you a good tomorrow from my today, which is your yesterday. So AJ Jackson says, hi, love. Thanks for Quilt-Cam. I will be trying that block. And she's from Georgia, sending hello, hello, hello. Oh, H Love, she says. And this one says, glad to catch Quilt-Cam live. I'm working on putting the borders on a memory quilt, all the clothes purchased for a great nephew. Oh, how fun is that? So she's got all the baby onesies and the little pants and shirts and things like that going on a memory quilt for her nephew. Isn't that a fun idea? It's like if you can stabilize it, then we can sew it down and we can quilt it. And it looks like this baby's name is Carson. Very cute. Alrighty, and this one's from Michelle Condon, which says, Double delight, finally able to watch a Quilt-Cam after missing a few. Last week at retreat, I finished my Double delight quilt top. I don't know why this one sat so long. She put a frowny face. I don't think she needed to put a frowny face. This is a girl who has moved many times with her hubby because of his Air Force job. And she goes from place to place and packs it up every couple of years and sets up her sewing. And as soon as she gets to the new place, and life is crazy. I've done that life. Even though my hubby wasn't military, we moved at least once every 5 years if it wasn't less than that. So no beating yourself up. She says, tonight I'm working on the last 75 spool blocks I need for my spoolin' around. I've been making them as leaders and enders for almost 2 years, and I'm ready to get these last ones done. Thanks for that update about Irene. I hadn't heard all that she is doing with her new location. We need to catch up. Yes, you do. Thanks for a fun Quilt-Cam tonight. And this is Michelle in Virginia. And she's, oh, Michelle, that's gorgeous. I love the red. I love the red. It looks very military colors, doesn't it? The red and the blue and the gold and the neutral. She does a lot of patriotic stuff, and you can see her peeking out there on the side there of her quilt. This is Double Delight. Mine was pink and brown and blue and gold and neutral. And you can still find this as a free pattern under the free patterns tab at the top of the blog. It's down where the old mysteries live, down at the bottom of the page. So you have to scroll all the way down to find those. And it's still, you get part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, but you just build it as you go, just like you would a mystery. And that's Double Delight. It's beautiful, Michelle. Beautiful. All right, let's do one more here. We have Laura Valdez, who says, Quilt-Cam, working on a mini UFO, trying to clean up things that are sitting around. Okay, no photos. That's a very short one. Thank you again, Laura. I love my sticker. Moby feels like he's mine now that we have our sticker where it needs to be. Oh, Kathy, this is the perfect one to end Quilt-Cam on tonight. She says, string pieced curves. Remember, she had the string piece drunkard's path in the love ring layout. Gorgeous. I'm working on a double wedding ring with string pieced arcs. This was not the same, Kathy, I don't think. Okay. My seams on the string pieced arcs are just left the way they are. I did take the paper off, press and starch, then ran them through the AccuQuilt Go. Works great. Okay, so this is Kathy Rivenbank. I want to call her Riverbank. It's Riven Bark. Old eyes. We're back to where we started tonight. Old eyes. They just don't see the text, especially on like a phone screen where there's backlighting. Oh, this is a whole nother conversation. So she says she doesn't have to press those open. Cassandra, you can be our finish tonight, okay? You can be our finished. She says a September date is perfect for a book release. She says, my birthday is September 11th. Your new book would make a great birthday present. And that's from Sandy. Well, we'll hopefully, you know, maybe things will be early. I would love it if they'd show up in August. But I'm really excited. I've seen the cover design. I'm just beyond thrilled. Just beyond thrilled. This is just top notch. And in August, we will have those wonderful decks of playing cards available. Did you guys hear about that? All of my quilts are on the back sides of the cards, and then you have the king and the queen and the ace and whatever they're all quilty. And this face gets to be the Joker. There's going to be a heck of a lot of card giving, gifting to family members this next coming Christmas so that we can all sit around and play some fun card games. Also, specialty ruler tools. They're in the manufacturing process, and more about those as that becomes available. But we are looking for it's called the Essential Triangle tool, and it will do half square triangles, quarter square triangles, flying geese, hourglass units, 3-part triangles where the upper part is 2 quarter square triangles and the bottom part is a large half square triangle, all in one tool. And there's a bonus ruler that goes with that. So that's coming out too. So all these good things happening, and I'm really happy that you're here to share them with me. And it'll allow us to make more quilts in less time, sew up those scraps. Challenge yourself the next time you go to reach for a fabric, go to the bottom of your stash. See what you can find from the bottom of your stash. Start with the pre-cut strips. If it's not available there, go to the hunks and chunks. If it's not available there, then go to the fat quarters, then go to the yardage. Try to sew from the bottom of your stash. And you can still throw in some new things now and then, like sofas. But see what you can do from the bottom of your stash. That's my challenge for you until our next Quilt-Cam. And then on the next Quilt-Cam, you can come back and tell me how you did, what you found, what you made with the bottom of your stash. I guess that's it for me tonight. If it's still early where you are, don't stop now. If you caught a second wind, keep sewing, and we'll see you on the blog. We'll have all kinds of fun updates once I hit Chicago and then on to Wichita over these next couple of trips. So keep up with me there and find me on Facebook. And until the next time, that's it from Bonnie in the Basement at Quiltville. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.